I mean, maybe it's just me, but I have to make mistakes in order to learn and grow, especially when it comes to fashion. I mean, you think I look back at when I was 19 and stand by the fashion decisions I was making? Absolutely not. I don't stand by anything I did when I was 19. That's the whole point of being 19. Caroline, welcome back to my channel. I want to talk about some fashion regrets today. Some of my biggest fashion regrets, or should I say mistakes I made, but I learned lessons from. So it's fine. They're not regrets if you got something out of it. Let us all learn from my mistakes as somebody who has had to learn their lesson the hard way, sometimes multiple times, which is why I have box dyed my own hair black on multiple occasions. So you just gotta get out of your system, you know? Sit yourself down, get comfortable, get a little drink, a little snack, whatever your heart desires. And let's get into this, shall we? To start us off, it only felt right to bring up my dilemma with designer, specifically high-end luxury designer items, because this might be one of, if not my biggest regret when it comes to fashion, at least financially speaking. I'm someone who's been into fashion ever since I was little, but it was never really fashion in the high-end runway designer sense. It was more so putting together outfits and being creative in this form of expression sense of fashion. The two can exist at once, but they can also, you know, be separate. However, I'm not completely immune, and ever since I was a little girl, there was this one item that I coveted and dreamed of being able to buy myself one day, and I would have, quote unquote, made it and become the fashion girl that I always wanted to be, and that was none other than, of course, a Chanel bag. And let me tell you, spoiler alert, I did actually buy myself a Chanel bag. I had 2 Chanel bags at one point, and yeah, maybe it was just me, but that whole like, I'll finally have made it in the dream and this and that, Obviously everybody's relationship with designer items and the value that each individual places on these items is gonna be different. Also people's budgets, right? Like some, it's just completely out of the question. They could never be able to afford a bag like that. Other people like me, I literally saved up for years. I got a huge job opportunity through work. I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. I'm gonna take some of this money and buy myself the Chanel bag that I've always wanted. And I did that, and it was really cool and fun and exciting at first. And then after about a week, I looked at the bag and was like, oh wow, I did all that work and saved all that money for this leather bag with an interlocking C label on it. Okay, there's so much more about this topic that I could get into. It could honestly be its own video to kind of sum it up for you. I realized the hard way. My bank account, certainly, yeah, it was a hard hit for that, and I'm just not the designer girl that I thought I was, or that the media tried to make me think I was growing up. I really don't care for designer items. I don't think they're worth the investment, at least for me. I mean, if you are gonna do it, I'd always say vintage over new. My Chanel bag that I got was vintage, and it's very cute, but I just, like, I don't wear it. I feel weird walking around my Trader Joe's at 9 in the morning with a Chanel bag. I'm just like, what? This isn't me. I'm happy that I learned that, but did I need to spend $4,000 to learn that lesson? My current sort of philosophy, I guess, when it comes to designer items that I see and I like, because I think they're cute from time to time, or like I'm still not completely immune. There's, for example, this Miu Miu bag that's been trending recently, and I look at a bag like that and I figure out what it is that I like about the purse, whether it is the type of leather, it's the shape, it's the color, and then I go over to eBay and try to find a vintage bag that emulates that vibe for like 1/10 of the cost, which is kind of, 1, all my bank account can do right now, but 2, for my own style, I ultimately end up feeling a lot better about, and I think it kind of forces me to think outside of like the pre-packaged material item that's being served up to me in a platter, like, look, this is what's cute and current and you should buy it, and it makes me try and find something that like does give that vibe that I was initially intrigued by, but does also fit within my personal style a little bit better. The designer luxury stuff, it's not all it's cracked up to be at the end of the day. For some people, it might be, but for me, it wasn't. And if you're somebody out there who has maybe financially never been able to buy one of these items and you feel bad every now and then about it, I just want you to know, you're fine. You're better than fine. You didn't spend $4,000 on a leather purse that you could have found something similarly to online for like $40. So I'm actually gonna need us all collectively to free ourselves from the shackles of standing only clothing. Why, like really, let's think about this. Why are any of us, or me in the past, why have I bought clothing that I can only wear doing one specific position and like contorting and sucking in my body to fit into? Don't I like myself more than that? Only buy clothing that fits you. I know, it sounds so self-explanatory and like no duh, but I know that I'm not the only person, especially as a vintage lover, when I've come across these pieces that are maybe a little bit too small, but they're beautiful and they're rare, and I don't know when I'm gonna come across this, if ever I can come across an item like this again. So if I can just like wear it during a certain time of the month when my weight is fluctuating down and I just only stand like this and don't actually move my body or enjoy my life at all, at least I can wear the item. Girl, if you don't give it a rest, please. Ultimately, clothing should be made to fit you. You should not make your body fit into the clothing. And again, I will stress, as somebody who loves vintage, this can be a particularly tricky mindset, because it's like, well, actually, there is only kind of one version of this clothing. No, you can find something similar without harming yourself and shaming yourself mentally trying to squeeze into it, and also just like suffering for it, because it's not fun when you go out for the day or for the night and clothing that doesn't fit you and you're like adjusting it and you're squeezing and you can't have the full human experience. Like, ugh, that's no way to live. You deserve better, alright? Start treating yourself better. While I've had more than a few regrets when it comes to some of the fashion choices I've made throughout my life, when it comes to something like, I don't know, fragrance, the only regret I've ever had is when I forget to wear it. That feeling when I'm out of my house for the rest of the day and I realize that I forgot to spray my scent, whether it's my signature scent or my go-to scent of that moment. Tragic, devastating. What's worse, truly. I learned my lesson from a young age that a full-size bottle of perfume was maybe not so ideal to carry in my purse or my backpack all day, and that is when I truly became what some would maybe consider addicted to travel-sized scents. Makes it a little bit harder to forget your fragrance of the day when you can just pop that fragrance into your bag and go, which is why I am so excited to be working with Scentbird for this video. I have 4 scents all coming in these different colored cases that are actually magnetic, so they're really easy to swap out. This baby right here, which is Ritual by Good Habit, has actually been my absolute favorite and go-to scent recently. It has that same sort of sweetness that I loved so much as a child, but with a kind of grown-up, mature twist, because it has a lot of musk as well as some coffee notes to it. You're gonna have to trust me when I tell you that it's incredible and feels like a really kind of warm, cozy, perfect scent from transitioning to the fall and eventually winter. I say winter as if I don't live in Southern California and it's literally not October, 85 degrees right now. Next up is actually another perfect scent for the fall and winter time. It's warm, it's cozy, it's Vanilla Sugar from when you were little, but she has now gone through puberty. Vanilla Sky by Skylar. Moving on to Extra Milk by Dead Cool, which is definitely for any of you out there who like scents that lean a little more gender neutral or masculine or kind of cologne-y. It still has those musky notes in it though. Don't you worry, because it's me. There's always going to be a little bit of musk, except when it comes to the last scent, because I gotta switch it up for anyone out there who might not be a fan of it. I want you to feel included. Last but certainly not least is Ooh La La Lepore by Nanette Lepore. It's fresh, it's clean, it's floral, but not in the mothball, grandma, old, aged floral way, which is some people's thing, but not necessarily mine. This is more like I am walking through an English countryside in the springtime, and this is what it smells like. If you want to check out Scentbird and get your hands on some of your very own scents, you can click the link in my description or scan the QR code up on the screen. Before you say anything, yes, of course I got a code for you. It's Caroline Tucker at checkout to get 55% off your first month of Scentbird. They have a whole wide variety and range of different scents to choose from, so if one of the ones that I talked about didn't really sound like your thing, don't worry, because trust me, they're gonna have a scent that does sound like your thing. Once again, my code, Caroline Tucker at checkout for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. Why would you give up on getting to save money and do that to yourself when you can use my code and just click the link in the bio or scan the QR code up on the screen? Thank you so much to Scentbird for partnering with me on this video, and with all of that, let's get into the rest of it. Defining how you like to dress for the different types of occasions in your life. I am a vintage lover. We know this. I am specifically a vintage dress lover. I love the 1910s and the 1920s and velvet and embellishments. I like the grandeur. I like the drama. I like a long train and a bell sleeve. But that is not what is always practical for day-to-day living. It's really just the difference between buying something because you think it's pretty and like how it looks versus buying something because it's going to be a functionable, very wearable piece in your wardrobe, and both things can and should exist in your wardrobe. But I used to really put an emphasis on the pretty and not so much the functional, and I would find myself really struggling sometimes, like trying to put together an outfit to run errands in or like go chill on the couch with my friends. Everyday closet staples does not have to equate to boring though. I actually think this is a really great opportunity to have fun and get really into the details and the nitty-gritty with what it is that you like about your staple items. Probably the best example I could give you is if I were to say something like, I don't know, jeans and a white t-shirt. What you're envisioning in your head right now is probably just a little bit different from what I'm envisioning in my head. Love a mid to low waisted, baggy, very distressed jean as of recent. Specifically, I'm really into 30s and 40s vintage menswear pants that are really distressed. They have a lot of holes and rips and repairs and patches and some stains. But then for the top, I love the brand Pretties. I think they have a lot of really nice like staple pieces, like a white pointelle tank. I can throw a fry boot on under the pants or a little ballet flat. Got my silver jewelry and my hoops, or I switch it up with the gold necklace stack. If it's cold outside, I throw my fringe jacket over top, sunglasses, bag, we're good to go. Figuring out what I wanted my go-to looks to be, and I could kind of catalog them in my brain actually. I like to call them my outfit formulas for when I'm wanting to be casual, when I'm wanting to be dressy, everything in between, and then curating my closet accordingly. It was just such a game changer. No longer do I let my friends talk me into buying an item. This was a particularly hard realization to come to and pill to swallow as somebody who my ideal way of spending my time is at a flea market surrounded by beautiful vintage clothing with my beautiful angelic friends. It's like, wow, this is community. This is what it is to live and to love, the meaning of life. Like, don't get me wrong, I still do go to flea markets with my beautiful, amazing friends. I just don't always let those beautiful, amazing friends, when they pull out an item and say, oh my God, Caroline, this reminds me of you. It's so cute. Try it on. You should get it. I don't let them talk me into it anymore. There's one part of this argument where I think if you're somebody who doesn't have a super strong sense of your own style, to go shopping with some people who know you really well and can help you maybe experiment and push you outside your comfort zone and develop your style can be really great. But then there's somebody like me who I've done all the experimenting on my own. I have a pretty strong sense of my own style, and ultimately I know what I'm realistically going to wear at the end of the day. I know my style better than anybody else. And so as cute as that item my friend is showing me might be, and as much as I do like it and as great as it does look on me, in the past whenever I've ended up buying those things, they go unworn and I look back and I'm like, why did I get that? Probably an element to this too, that it's like when your friend is hyping you up and giving you all these compliments and is like, you should get this, you're kind of feeling impulsive and you're like, oh my God, the compliments, and you're looking at the item through rose-colored glasses, and then you get home and the friend isn't there to compliment you anymore and you're just like, what the fuck? Why did I do that? So at least for me, lesson learned. Stop. When I say that I am currently not in a place of buying items made out of synthetic fibers, I'm not demonizing synthetic fibers as a whole. Just like me right now in this moment, something made of completely synthetic fibers is going to be a no-go. We can get a little crazy with the half and half. We got some natural fibers, we got some synthetic, but all synthetic is just gonna be a pass. The moment that I really started to pay attention to how my clothing felt on my body, I realized that I really hated how most synthetic fibers felt when I was wearing them. Honestly, just something I realized through trial and error, because I can love the concept of an item, but when I don't like the material that item is made out of and I don't think it's gonna wear well, it's gonna age over time well, I don't like how it feels on my skin, I don't like the way that it flows and moves on my body, I'm just not gonna get as much wear out of it, even if it is a cute item, in theory. In reality, the cuteness can only take it so far. Not to mention, I'm a sweater. If you know me, I have hyperhidrosis. I'm not being dramatic. I think for once, I know, but I actually have a medical condition where my body produces more sweat than other people. It's very glamorous. It's very sexy. It's very hot, quite literally and figuratively. My dad gave it to me. Yeah, it's usually genetic. It's passed down. His dad gave it to him. My mom would have never done something like this to me. All right, she has decorum. She has class. She cares about me. My dad, however. No, but seriously, because sweating is very serious. When it comes to synthetic fibers, they're not exactly known for being super absorbent, and so when I wear something like polyester and I am sweating a ton, it is just staying on my body. It's not being absorbed by the fabric at all. It is fucking miserable. It is a horrible experience, and so I just would much prefer to focus on adding things like cotton and linen and wool, and if I'm feeling fancy schmancy, silk to my wardrobe. Fancy schmancy, why can't I say that? Fancy schmancy. I don't like synthetic fibers anymore. Also, not for nothing, but again, like, I'm not completely anti, but it does take around 500 years for polyester to break down in a landfill versus cotton, which I think was like 6 months, maybe? I'll have stats up on the screen. Yeah, so. Buying the cheaper alternative of an item to dupe or not to dupe? That is the question. Yet another topic that I could make an entire video about. Don't tempt me or do in the comments below. I have actually kind of touched on my thoughts about dupe culture in one of my previous videos. You don't like fashion, you like consuming. If you haven't seen it, linked down below. To summarize, I am not the biggest fan, especially when it's dupes through stolen fast fashion knockoffs. I don't really shop fast fashion in general, but I understand why some people do, and it's the most accessible option. XYZ, again, like, that's a whole other video, but I do want to give an example because I haven't always not shopped fast fashion, and I think I definitely learned from the situation, and maybe you could as well. When I was in high school, I became a fan of the brand Realization Par. Ever heard of them? If you haven't, they are basically like a middling tier designer brand known mainly for their beautiful silk dresses ranging anywhere from like $150 to $350. I found out about them through following Devin Lee Carlson. Of course, I was obsessed with her when I was 16. I'm still obsessed with her at the age of 26, and she used to and still wears Realization Par all the time. She's like one of the faces of it, but of course at the time, being 16, I could not afford one of their dresses, but I felt like one of the ways that I could kind of be like Devin was to have a Realization dress, because she would always be wearing them, and so I went on Depop and I found a knockoff of a Realization dress for $25, and it took me about 6 years, maybe 5 years after buying that knockoff to be able to actually afford a real one, and when I tell you, they are absolutely not the same. I've seen conversations online for a while now, actually, of people not having a great experience with Realization and saying that they bought a knockoff. I don't know, maybe I just got like a cheap, low rent, bad knockoff, but saying that they bought a knockoff and it was basically the same thing, and in my experience, that could not be further from the truth. Realization is definitely expensive, and I do usually wait until their dresses go on sale, or I buy them secondhand on sites like The Real, and I save up for them a bit, but I continue to support them and give them my money because I think that they're particularly their dresses are so beautiful, so well made. The way that the fabric just hangs and moves and flows on my body, it is unlike any other dress. There's an aspect to the current dupe culture though, that is what is a dupe versus what is a knockoff, because they're often used interchangeably at this moment when I actually think they're completely different things. Because while I wouldn't recommend you go to AliExpress and buy the Realization Par knockoff dress that's made of polyester and has loose threads and it's not gonna look the same as the Realization Par dress does, if you want the look, you wanna emulate the Realization vibe without paying for the Realization price tag, go on eBay, find a 90s bias cut silk dress. You can find some for $20, $30, and Realization dresses actually take a lot of inspo from vintage styles and silhouettes of dresses, and so that is a way better use of your money than trying to get the knockoff, at least in my opinion. Kind of getting back to a point I made at the beginning of this video with luxury designer items, so like in general, if I see something I like and I can't afford it, I kind of have two ways of thinking. Either I decide to wait and save up my money to invest in the item, or I try to find a vintage version of the item that emulates the vibe, and sometimes getting the vintage version will satiate my initial want for the item, and sometimes it won't, and I'll be like, damn, I wish I would have saved my money and just bought the original item. It's honestly a toss-up, and this is where like you really have to know yourself and like what you're going to be satisfied with and whatnot, and how badly you want an item and are willing to wait and invest in it. But I think that it is something worth learning and trying to like hone in on that. Impulsive, trendy purchases. I mean, really, what more is there for me to say about this topic that I haven't already gone on some very long tangent spiel about in any and all of my previous videos? Here's the thing, okay? I don't think that the trend cycle is some like demonic, evil entity, right? It's been around since literally the beginning of time. Trends have always been prominent throughout fashion history. It's just the rate at which the trend cycle has accelerated in really the past 10 years because late stage capitalism, blah, blah, blah. There she goes. Talking about capitalism again. I don't think it's bad to buy something because you want to be trendy and you want to feel fashionable, and participating in trends is how you do that. But I do think because of the current rate of the trend cycle that trying to keep up and participate in every single trend is harmful. It is of course going to lead to overconsumption. You're going to be spending so much money. I didn't know you have money like that. I do not. So props to you. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm somebody who has a sense of style that seems like it's super influenced by trends, but of course I like trends every now and then and get sucked into them just like you do. And for me personally, I think, well, one, if I can try and find the vintage version of an item, I like to do that because again, fashion is cyclical, and the trend cycle, if it exists now, it probably existed at some point in history in another version. And I kind of like to see if I can get my hands on that version so it doesn't feel quite as not current, but I'm just annoying and I know myself, and if everybody has something, I start to be like, I don't really want it that much, and I get fatigued and over it. So this is a way that I can prevent that, but also delaying the purchase, right? If you have this like need, this like incessant, overwhelming desire and feeling that you need to buy this item now, because what if it's not trendy anymore by the time you get your hands on it and then you won't want to wear it? That's when I'd be like, maybe I should wait. Maybe I should wait until the trend is at its peak or the trend has even died down a bit and see if you still want to buy the item and then go ahead and do it. Because if you really want to add this thing to your wardrobe, like you should plan on having it for at least a year, right? But with the way that current trends are working, it's like, oh, 2 weeks and it's over. And I don't think that anybody should be buying something with the intention of like only wearing it for 2 weeks. It's literally fucking insane. So I will also give it to trends that if you are someone who is trying to hone in on your style a bit, it can be a really great way to introduce things into your wardrobe that maybe previously you wouldn't have thought about wearing, but because they're trendy, you're like, oh, that's cute, sure, and then boom, it suddenly becomes a staple of your style and your wardrobe. Experimenting with my style can be a lot of fun. I like pushing boundaries, I like trying new things. I don't think my style's ever going to be set in stone. It should always be adapting and evolving. But that being said, I like to have a few rules for when I'm trying new things to follow. Fashion should be fun, and testing your boundaries with fashion can be fun if you want it to, but I also think like it's not even about what looks best and most flattering on me. Ugh, I hate the word flattering. I think it should be about what you feel most comfortable as well as confident in. And so for me, if I'm buying an item that there's one element to it that is different from what I usually gravitate towards, making sure all the other elements of that item are things that I know I'm gonna like, so I don't look back on this purchase and I'm like, who bought that? It certainly wasn't me. Like, I don't know what entity took me over when I hit purchase, but like, Caroline was not present. So yeah, I'm thinking of this within the framework of a silhouette that I have loved wearing for years, which is just a simple silk slip style maxi vintage dress, but then in maybe a color that I don't have as much of, like that orange actually of the chair in the background. Fun fact, I found this chair on the side of the street with a free sign. I was like, oh, don't mind if I do, right? And I love that color. It's just not something I have a ton in my wardrobe, but I think if I wanted to introduce it, doing it in a way where it's within a silhouette that I know that I love and that I get a ton of wear out of would be a really great example of that. Spending my money on occasion pieces or one wear items. Basically, I would buy something for an event and then have no plan to wear the item beyond the event that I was buying it for. I will say, there is a larger problem at play within our current culture of things like festival fashion or buying a whole new wardrobe for a vacation that like, oh, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, womp womp, watch out everyone, the woke police is coming. But like, overall, it's just like, it's very overconsumption-y, and and wasteful and not only harmful to the environment and at least my wallet in the past, but also my style. I can pretty confidently say on 99% of the time when I've gone, ugh, I have nothing to wear, I totally had stuff to wear. It was just stuff that I'd already worn before, all of my friends had already seen me in, I'd already posted on Instagram, or it had to be outfit repeating, or ugh, it wasn't new, so it doesn't feel like fun and special and fresh. But I think when it comes to developing my style, this is where like getting creative with the items in my wardrobe and mixing and matching and maybe like trying to pair stuff together that I'd never thought of pairing before really comes into play. Maybe this is just me too, but I think people who shamelessly outfit repeat and just like have a dress that they wear to every wedding they're a guest to is really fucking cool. And I want to be one of those people. So my friends are actually, they're at the age where they're starting to get married, which is crazy because I'm a child. So, I didn't know that child brides were legal in America, but yeah, I might have to get on that soon and lead by example. Always dressing as my authentic self. It's my last tip. It might be the most important. It's also a tip that just kind of extends throughout all areas of my life and hopefully should be extending through yours, which is just like always show up as you are in that moment. Speaking strictly on outfits here, in the past when I've maybe not had quite as much of a grasp on my own sense of style, I have looked towards my friends who now I know I have quite different style than a lot of my friends, but I've seen how they dress and I thought, ugh, like I'm a little bit louder and more eccentric with my style and I don't really want to stand out that much today, so I'm like fit in, so maybe dress down and try to look like them. And I always look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Because not only was I not being myself, but also the outfits always look ugly. So it's like, girl, you're being a liar and you're not even serving while doing it, so what are we doing here? I did really struggle though for a while of trying to figure out what I would want to wear when I've just grabbed drinks with friends, go out to the bars, and this sort of like performative sexiness that I felt like I needed to do, or like this very specific idea that like the male gaze that I needed to adhere to, and it would always make me feel so uncomfortable because it's so not me, and what men find sexy is a shocker, not what I find sexy. So why do I want to dress like that? And also like, why do I care about being sexy for them? Ew, you're literally a man. Why do I care about your taste? Especially when it comes to fashion over my own taste. I feel as though I'm just really talking in one big circle at this point because everything just comes back to this idea of dressing in a way that makes you feel comfortable and you feel confident. And if you want to feel sexy within that, what makes you feel sexy? Which me being comfortable and confident just inadvertently makes me feel sexy. Okay, well, with that, I mean, I think that's gonna be it for this video. Was that 10 of my fashion regrets that you can hopefully learn from, or like always at the very least have found this video entertaining and me entertaining. Like me, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't. I really do enjoy making videos where I can just kind of sit down and talk to you like the big sister giving you fashion advice, so I do really hope that you enjoyed this video. Huge thank you again to Scentbird for working with me on this video. If you want to get your hands on your very own Scentbird, figure out your signature scent or just your scent of the month or the week or the day, you can use QR code up on the screen, or make sure to click the link in my description box and use my code Caroline Tucker at checkout for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. Stay sexy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!